In 2013, a young woman arrived in New York with an extraordinary story. She claimed to be a wealthy German heiress with a trust fund worth tens of millions of dollars. She wore designer clothes. She stayed in luxury hotels. She dined in expensive restaurants. She surrounded herself with celebrities, entrepreneurs, and socialites. To anyone who met her, Anna Delvey looked exactly like the kind of person who never worried about money. There was only one problem. Almost none of it was true. Yet for years, some of the most connected and influential people in New York believed her story. Bankers believed her. Lawyers believed her. Hotel managers believed her. Wealthy socialites believed her. Even experienced business professionals who spent their careers evaluating people and opportunities fell for it. The question wasn't why Anna Delvey lied. The question was why so many intelligent people believed her. Born Anna Sorokin in Russia, she later moved to Germany with her family. Her background was ordinary. There were no massive trust funds, no billionaire relatives, no hidden fortune waiting for her. But somewhere along the way, Anna realized something important. People rarely verify wealth. They respond to appearances. If someone dresses wealthy, acts wealthy, and spends money like a wealthy person, most people assume the wealth is real. Anna decided to test that theory. When she arrived in New York, she reinvented herself completely. Anna Sorokin became Anna Delvey, a mysterious German heiress whose family wealth supposedly existed somewhere overseas. The details were always vague. Sometimes she mentioned a trust fund. Sometimes she hinted at family money. Sometimes she avoided specifics altogether. Oddly enough, that made the story even more believable. The less information people had, the more they filled in the blanks themselves. Anna quickly learned how New York's elite social circles worked. Status mattered, exclusivity mattered, appearances mattered. People wanted to be around successful individuals because success itself was a form of social currency. Anna gave them exactly what they wanted. She dressed the part, she spoke the part, she lived the part. Soon she was attending private events, luxury dinners, and exclusive gatherings. People who barely knew her assumed someone else had already verified her background. If wealthy people trusted Anna, she must be legitimate. That assumption became her greatest weapon. One of the most fascinating aspects of Anna's story is how simple many of her tricks were. She wasn't some criminal mastermind operating from the shadows. She often relied on confidence, persistence, and the assumption that nobody would question her. When hotel bills arrived, she delayed payment. When expenses appeared, she promised incoming funds from overseas accounts. When people asked questions, she provided explanations that sounded just believable enough. And remarkably, it worked. Luxury hotels welcomed her. Staff members treated her like an important client. Expensive restaurants served her without hesitation. New friends eagerly introduced her to their networks. The illusion was becoming stronger. The more successful Anna appeared, the easier it became to convince others she was successful. Soon she wasn't just pretending to be rich. She was living as if she truly belonged among New York's elite. But maintaining the illusion required money. Lots of it. And Anna's ambitions were growing far beyond luxury dinners and hotel suites. She had a much bigger dream. Anna wanted to create an exclusive private members club in Manhattan called the Anna Delvey Foundation. The project would transform a historic building into a luxury space for artists, entrepreneurs, and wealthy elites. On paper, it sounded impressive. The concept attracted attention. Investors listened. Business professionals took meetings. The problem was that Anna didn't have the money to build it, so she decided to do something even more ambitious. She would try to convince banks to give her millions of dollars. And somehow, she almost succeeded. Anna wasn't just fooling friends anymore. She was now sitting across from bankers and asking for millions of dollars. To make her dream a reality, she needed financing. A lot of financing. She claimed her family trust fund was worth tens of millions and that the money was sitting overseas waiting to be transferred. The banks didn't need to worry, she said. They simply needed to approve temporary financing until her fortune arrived. Astonishingly, some institutions took her seriously. Meetings were arranged, lawyers were hired, documents were exchanged. The illusion had become so powerful that people stopped asking the most important question: was any of this actually true? As Anna pushed forward, the cracks began to appear. Luxury hotels started demanding payment. Credit cards were declined. Bills accumulated. Excuses became more frequent. She promised wire transfers were coming. She blamed foreign banking delays. She insisted everything would be resolved soon. Sometimes people believed her, sometimes they didn't. But every day the pressure grew stronger. One of the people closest to Anna began noticing something wasn't right. Friends who had once admired her lifestyle suddenly found themselves paying expenses on her behalf. Expensive dinners, luxury vacations, hotel charges. The promises to repay them never seemed to materialize. What had once looked like generosity started looking suspiciously like manipulation. Yet Anna continued pushing forward. She kept attending events. She kept presenting herself as a wealthy heiress. She kept acting as though nothing was wrong. That's what made her scheme so unusual. Many fraudsters disappear the moment problems appear. Anna doubled down. She believed confidence could solve everything. For a while, it almost did. Then reality finally caught up with her. The unpaid bills became impossible to ignore. Financial institutions began examining her claims more carefully. Questions that should have been asked years earlier were finally being asked. Where was the trust fund? Where was the proof of wealth? Why were payments constantly delayed? Why did every explanation lead to another explanation? The answers never came. Investigators soon discovered the shocking truth. The German heiress didn't exist. The family fortune didn't exist. The trust fund didn't exist. The lifestyle that had impressed so many people was largely built on deception, unpaid debts, forged financial documents, and promises that could never be fulfilled. The woman who convinced New York she was a billionaire was actually struggling to maintain the illusion she had created. In 2017, Anna Sorokin was arrested. The story exploded across newspapers and television networks. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. How could someone with no fortune convince so many successful and powerful individuals that she belonged among them? How could bankers, lawyers, hotel managers, and wealthy socialites all fall for the same lie? The answer was surprisingly simple. Anna understood something about human psychology. People don't just believe money, they believe status. When enough people treat someone as important, everyone else starts doing the same. Each new believer becomes proof for the next believer. The illusion grows stronger with every person who accepts it. Anna exploited that weakness masterfully. Her trial attracted enormous attention. Prosecutors argued that she had deliberately deceived banks, businesses, and individuals for financial gain. Her defense painted a different picture. But by this point, the evidence was overwhelming. In 2019, Anna was convicted on multiple charges and sentenced to prison. For most people, that would have been the end of the story. For Anna Delvey, it was merely another chapter. Even after her conviction, public fascination with her continued. Books were written, interviews were conducted, documentaries were produced. Eventually, her story inspired a successful Netflix series watched by millions around the world. Ironically, the woman who spent years pretending to be famous became genuinely famous. But beneath the headlines, luxury hotels, designer clothes, and courtroom drama lies a much more important lesson. Anna Delvey never convinced New York she was a billionaire because she had extraordinary evidence. She convinced New York because people wanted to believe her. Her story fit perfectly into a city obsessed with wealth, status, exclusivity, and success. She looked the part. She acted the part. And for many people, that was enough. The story of Anna Delvey reminds us that appearances can be incredibly powerful. Sometimes the most convincing lies aren't supported by facts. They're supported by assumptions. And once enough people accept an assumption, questioning it becomes surprisingly difficult. For years, Anna Delvey lived inside a fantasy she created herself. Luxury hotels opened their doors. Wealthy people welcomed her into their circles. Financial institutions considered handing her millions, and none of it was real. If you enjoyed this story and want more documentaries about money, deception, scams, frauds, financial crimes, and extraordinary true stories, subscribe to Dark Ledger and turn on notifications so you never miss the next documentary.